Hello everyone, welcome to OT Drawing, which is a channel not specifically meant for drawing. And this is my first video, and I hope to make many. So, I just wanted to introduce myself in the beginning. So, I paint, I draw, I scuba dive, and I'm a reefer. And for those who don't know what that means, it's a person that loves fish and aquariums but saltwater, and usually the term reefer means they also grow corals as well. So that's my hobby. So in this video, my first video, I just wanted to talk to you about a setup of an aquarium, a new one. Actually, I got a week ago, and it's a Red T-Max 250, which is about 69 gallons. And I just wanted to talk to you about how I set it up, what I did. So a week back we set up the aquarium, but in like the 1st of January or the 2nd of January, we found this deal for a second-hand aquarium. It was the Red T-Max 250 for 2,500 dirhams. And for those of you who have the currency of dollars or pounds, that's just basically like times 4, so a dollar would be around 4 dirhams as well as pounds. That's just a rough estimation. So it was for 2.5k, and we were like, okay, well that's an amazing deal. And he had a DIY sump, and for those who don't know what that means, it's basically an external filter that is very good for your fish and corals and keep your water very clean and everything, and they have many benefits as well, as like adding volume to your aquarium and stuff. The one we had already had a built-in one, but it was an all-in-one, which means it had it integrated in the back, which is undesirable for many people because it doesn't have the same uses. We stopped by this really nice fish store, BPK, in Dubai, and turned out they had one that's second-hand, but it was for only 500. We were like, well, that's an amazing deal. So we got that. And when we brought it home, it turned out that there were so many scratches that we had to buff it out. We did, but it didn't work out. So we ended up scratching it even more. Then we went back to the original deal of 2.5k, and we bought that one. We planned to use the aquarium of that, but all of the equipment and cabinets of the other one, as it matched our furniture. So we ended up buying 2 aquariums, and right now we have a spare one outside with a cabinet, a white one that didn't match our furniture at all. So we ended up setting it up like that in our living room, away from direct sunlight, and everything was great. And then one day we decided to start the scape with rocks, and I always love scapes. Like that's just the essence of the aquarium. It's not complete without a scape. So most people go bare bottom, which means no sand, so that they can implement a lot of flow for better coral color. But in my opinion, if you have a display tank, especially like the one we have in our living room, it's never gonna look as great. So I just decided to get 2 bags of 10 kilogram sand, and we put it in the bottom of our aquarium. And most people would say that that's just a pain in terms of maintenance. But we just thought whatever would happen, we'll find a way to work around it. So that was the start of our aquarium. So you can see in this picture that we placed the cabinet right next to the old tank that we would replace eventually. That was not the final spot for it, but we decided to put it there for the time being, since this was the exact time when we decided to buff out the one that we knew would not work out eventually. So we did not buy the new aquarium at this point of time, but it wasn't the final place either. So everything in this picture was just temporary. So in terms of scapes, I was talking about how it's important to implement a great scape that just brings out the color of the fish, the corals, efficient swimming space, and everything like that. These 4 pictures, or 5, are in my opinion, were like the most beautiful ones. They were just minimalistic, like less rock. It's not expensive at all to create. It's just up to the corals to build up on the rock, which was very natural and very nice in my opinion. And they had lots of swimming space. This last one was one of my favorites, and it kind of looked like a reef crest, a reef mountain almost. But the problem is that it's stacked up against the side of the glass. We could not do that for our aquarium because it would obstruct the view, which isn't really that nice. So we ended up doing something similar to all these four, which was essentially 2 islands, and we added a few swim-throughs and some caves for the fish to enjoy. In terms of water, we were going to go through an RODI system, which is basically water that takes away all chemicals and all the dissolved solids, and usually you'd use a meter called the TDS meter. And I used to think that the lower the TDS, total dissolved solids, the better the water. But the ocean has tens of thousands of total dissolved solids, so I just ended up going with drinking water because it had many supplements important for corals, such as magnesium, calcium, strontium, so on. In terms of coral, I'm just gonna go for hard coral and maybe a bit of soft coral, such as Euphilia, which is basically like a fluffy coral. You would have seen it in one of the pictures that were in the beginning of the video. Rock, we would go for Pecani rock because it's cheaper and it looks really nice. We went for the Red Sea blue bucket salt because it had high mineral concentration. This was the beginning scape. It was very bare and I didn't like it. We ended up trying to improve it, but until then we were working on the aquarium. This was the one that was scratched, so we didn't end up using it. And this is the side of the scape, which I went back to look at. And this is the heater that we used, an Eheim Jagger. And I've heard many reviews on them, but you just need to calibrate them. This was the end position and end aquarium, as you can see here. So here I'm just looking inside the cabinets. We have our filtration, our food, anything for the maintenance, everything for the maintenance, and that's the nano tank you see there. And here's the back of the aquarium. That was the integrated sump I was talking about in the beginning of the video, and it's a big mess here, but we were gonna add them inside the DIY sump. This was the final scape with the sand and everything, and I think I really liked it at the end. This was before we filled up the aquarium, and I just took some final pics just to remember what the scape looked like in the beginning, because later the coral would build up on it and would be almost unrecognizable in terms of the original structure. So on the ground it was a big mess, but we had some wave makers, some media. So here we had a reactor right there, and we put some media or some filtration stuff inside, which is better than putting it in a bag and hoping for the best. We had a Z light outside, but it came with the aquarium, so I've never heard of them. So I still don't know if we're gonna use it, but I've never seen any reviews or any of them growing hard corals, so I don't know what will happen. This was the bucket we washed the sand in, which was a pain because there were many small particles that would cloud up the water. And this is the bucket that we cured the rock in. And this was a PVC pipe that we ended up not using because it was very dirty, so we were gonna have to make our own one. This was the 13 bottles of water that we used to fill up the aquarium. So once again guys, if you have any questions or anything you'd like to know, just tell me in the comments below and I'll see if I can help you out in the next video. As well as if you would like a more in-depth video of this aquarium. Thank you.